Hey y'all, I'm Tammy, and this is Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook like our mamas did. This mama is making okra patties today. I hope you enjoy it. Let's get started.
Today we're going to make okra patties, and I have to be honest, my mama and my granny never made okra patties. We just made fried okra, and I have a fried okra deluxe that has tomatoes and onions and stuff like that, but today we're going to do a different recipe for okra patties. You can see here that I've cut up some pepper from the garden. I've got bell pepper from the garden, and I've got banana sweet pepper from the garden. And I left one banana pepper out to cut for y'all, and I just cut it pretty small. And then I've also got an onion I'm going to cut up for y'all right here. And you want it in just kind of a medium-sized piece since it's going in patties. You know, you don't want to mince it or anything like that. So I'm just kind of chopping it, pretty much. Now, after we do that, I've got just a couple of little pieces of okra that I saved so that I could cut them up in front of y'all. And I take the end off of it, and then I just cut it kind of a medium slice. And Mama never put the tips of her okra in with her fried okra, but I do. I take off the end, but I do leave the tips and cook them as well. Alright, we're going to grab our salt and salt these vegetables and salt the okra. And you could just use your judgment. And then I'm going to grab the pepper, and I just love pepper on fried okra and vegetables. Alright, that's it for the vegetables. We're going to put them all in our bowl, and then we'll start mixing up our batter. So just make sure to, it's a good bit of vegetables. These are going to make quite a few okra patties. Okay, for our batter, we're going to start with a cup of self-rising flour. We're going to put in a half cup of self-rising cornmeal mix. And now that is not a sweet cornmeal mix. Now some people do put sugar in their patties, but I do not. We're going to be using diced tomatoes today. And we'll go ahead and open these up. And this is what's going to wet our batter today, or help get it wet. Now you can use fresh tomatoes as well, but I wanted to use a can of tomatoes because I know a lot of y'all will have that available most of the time. Okay, I really don't know how wet these tomatoes are going to make this, since this is the first time I've made this recipe. So I'm just going to use a half cup scoop, and we're going to scoop out about a cup and a half of these tomatoes, and make sure you get some juice in there with it. And I think that would be equivalent to a small can. I did not have a can, just a regular size can of diced tomatoes. That wasn't an Italian style, and I didn't want to use Italian style in my okra. So use a can of diced tomatoes, or now I'm going to salt it and put a lot of pepper on it because I love pepper on tomatoes. And so just remember to use a regular can, and that would work fine too. And this is not going to make this wet enough, so I am going to have to grab some buttermilk and add some buttermilk to it to get it to be more runny. My goodness, this stuff is thick. This is the thickest buttermilk. So if you use a thinner buttermilk, it won't take as much, but just add your milk a little at a time until you get it close to being the consistency of about like a pancake batter. That's about how you want it to look, like a pancake batter. I'm going to add just a little bit more milk, and then we're going to add a little extra pepper because that's always good. We're going to mix this up good and then put it inside of our veggies. Okie doke. We're just going to add this into our vegetables. Make sure you scrape it out good and get all your goodies. And just going to see how this looks. And then I'll just have to write down the recipe for y'all and leave it in the description post. So that's what I'll do. We ain't got a bigger spoon. And we're just going to try to mix this up. Try to do a really good job of mixing it up because you want all the spatter to be in between all those vegetables. So you need to mix this for a couple of minutes until it's nice and evenly distributed. Alright, I think this is just right, y'all. Let's get over here to the stove and get this started. It's going to be so good with my creamed corn and biscuits.
And here we go. Let's drop one. Whoa, I just dropped it in the stove. I knew I'd do that. There's two. I was going to use a bigger skillet, y'all, but I didn't because I wanted the grease to be deeper. And the bigger the skillet, if you want the grease to be deep, then you've got to use a lot of shortening, and shortening's expensive. So I was like, I'll use this little pan because it's kind of short, you know. I mean, it's not very deep and it's not very wide, and it wouldn't take as much shortening to fry these up. So there they go. I'm going to turn it. I'm trying to decide if I want to leave it about where it is. As long as it don't get too brown too quick, because you want the flour and stuff to get done, and you want the vegetables to get done. Now, some people, when they make these okra patties, I noticed used canned okra that's already cooked. Or if you've put up some okra and sliced it and canned it. I did that one year. There used to be a YouTuber, I'm trying to remember his name. He passed away. And he showed you how to make your okra, how to can it if you grew okra, how to can it with vinegar and stuff. And it's real tart, you know. And then you would drain it and rinse it and then fry it. And so if you put up your okra that way, some of y'all may remember who I'm talking about. All right, let's see if I can flip another one. That's the main thing with these. You want to make sure they're ready to flip before you flip them. Kind of delicate. Guess you could add a little more flour to it. Like I said, I've never made these before in my life. And so it was something new that a viewer asked me to make them. And I looked at a bunch of recipes. And this was the one I thought, I kind of combined a couple of them together. And I thought this looked the best. Boy, they're pretty, ain't they? With that green and that red and the onion is white. They're really pretty, y'all. I think they'll be good with our creamed corn. So while those keep frying a minute, I turned them up. We're going to warm up this corn. All right, y'all. We're going to fry a few of these up in my nonstick skillet. And boy, is it doing so much better than the stainless steel. So I'm going to let you guys watch me cook a batch in this nonstick skillet. Now I'm using a nonstick pan. I'm going to see what the difference will be. See if it does it a lot better. I'm sure it will. Get the job done. They don't stick in this at all. They're going to be a lot better, easier to make. I've also got my temperature perfect this time. 1, 2, and 3. And we're pretty. I'm going to show y'all how a Southerner cleans their plate. They take their biscuit and they use it to sop up what's left on the plate. That's what we call it. And then you push it up on there with your biscuit. This is my last bite. I'm going to eat it all at the same time with my biscuit. Well, the onion don't want to come off. That's how a Southerner eats. Good. Now that skillet made some pretty okra patties. And we could butter us a biscuit. Don't that look good? That's 6 ears of corn. And you can get corn right now for about 33 cents to 50 cents just about everywhere because it's in season. What I made my cream corn for y'all not long ago. It's in the first cookbook, and it has salt, pepper, butter, water, and then you cook it down, and then you add cornstarch and milk. And boy, is it good. And then, of course, my delicious biscuits are always good. I made today. They look good, don't they? I love biscuits with this meal. Now, let me tell you how else you could do them so you'll know. If you don't want to put tomatoes in yours, if for some reason you don't like tomatoes, you can cut up okra. Instead of just using the tomatoes, because it kind of gives it a wet, you can use an egg, okay, and a little buttermilk. Some people use water. I mean, everybody's different. Some people use Lowry's seasoning salt. Some people use garlic salt. I mean, there's just so many different ways you can make them. And I guess it's just according to what your mama likes to cook with. But this is definitely a Southern classic. Okra is something we eat down here a lot. And there's a lot of Southerners that won't eat okra, actually, which I think is kind of wild. But not everybody likes it, you know. Look how pretty they are, y'all. Aren't they beautiful? Beautiful, beautiful. All right, let's make us a plate. We're going to get an okra patty on the plate. Now, these have got tomatoes in them, but I typically slice a fresh tomato out of the garden to eat with this meal. And I always like to have it with a good biscuit. I really do. I'm going to get the middle one because it's the softest. It's really soft. Now, that skillet made some pretty okra patties. I hope if you grew up eating okra patties that you just love this video. I thank you so much for watching Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook like our mamas did. Bye, I love you.